Just to do a quick recap on last week's video. So we did a needs evaluation to see where my needs were being met in life and not being met in situations. And the three different questions that I asked here, there was a connection between the first question and the last question. This is where I formed my first self-limiting belief. And this is rooted way back when I was 11 and 12. Right here, with the child-parent dynamic, this was my earliest form of gaslighting, or experience with gaslighting. This is my first form of where people-pleasing tendencies would have came into play. And as we keep going down, right here would be I am a victim of my circumstances, not a controller of my life. A lot of the times we don't think that deeply into our childhood, but then you come across me and ta-da, here I am. Hello everybody, happy Wednesday. Today we're going to go over and sum up the last two videos that I've made about awareness and positioning yourself so that you can remain in authority. So this is the sum up that I got. And as you can see in the needs assessment, the connections that I made and when the first time I experienced gaslighting or people-pleasing tendencies. So just be conscientious and aware of these as you go through these dynamics, okay? From reviewing what I have, I figured out that vulnerability, humility, accountability, compassion, and change. We're going to go through every single variation so that you could see which one puts you in the best power position for you to be able to move freely between these three variables, because these two go hand in hand. So vulnerability and humility, that's the core, those are the must. The three that are going to change, where you have to be able to shift fluidly, confidently, and credibly, is going to be accountability, compassion, and change. Okay. So vulnerability and humility. The advantages of vulnerability to humility and why this is the first fundamental is because it puts you in touch with reality. Furthermore, you are showing initiative because you know your part in it. Your admittance of humility puts you in the advantage point. Why? Because you called yourself out. Self-awareness. No one can take that from you. No one can get around you. No one can get one up on you when you're self-aware. You're positioning yourself as the anchor. You're being that mountain, and you're showing them that you're ready to let them be the child and to have that emotional release that they're so desperately seeking. And last but not least, you are leading by example without saying a word of what you expected them and how you will continue forward in communication and how they will continue with you in communication. Any of those loose ends, you're pretty much wrapping up. I'll give you an example. So vulnerability to humility. How's it going to start? You'll repeat whatever it is that is a desired reality that isn't in the present moment. Or if you're unsure, you're going to ask a question. An example would sound like this. I know you're upset over XYZ. I can't read your mind. Will you please tell me what XYZ is supposed to look like in your eyes? Follow it up with, you admit your part in the situation, like after they explain to you what it would look like in their eyes. You admit your part in the situation. Don't gaslight your child. Okay, so, and it would sound something like this. Okay, so you're saying ABC. I'll admit I didn't take into consideration ABC because I, XYZ, an example could be, didn't know this was important to you. I apologize for not taking the time to see you and understand you for who you are. I know I've let you down in the past. As you can see, I'm working on it. Will you go for a walk, or will you sit down with me for a minute so that we can talk about our triggers and how we can hold each other accountable going forward? Now expect to have resistance, expect them to want some space and need a minute. That's okay. You say whatever you need, but you don't speak out into existence that this is a failed attempt or that you don't believe in their ability to come back and talk to you. You hold your faith and say, they're going to calm down, they're going to come back, we're going to talk about it. And do not let your mind think anything else. Do not speak into existence anything else, okay? That's what that's going to sound like. So I just covered the vulnerability, humility. I did the entry point of how we would walk into accountability. So let's go through the other dynamics. Let's say we did vulnerability to accountability. What does that put you in the position of? So you repeat whatever it is, the desired reality that isn't in the present moment. Or if you're unsure, you ask the question, I know you're upset over XYZ. I can't read your mind. Could you please tell me what XYZ is supposed to look like in your eyes? Now we're going to go right into accountability. You're either going to look desperate or you're going to attack the other for everything that they could have done differently, because you miss the vulnerability, you miss the humility part, which allows you to connect on a human level and find some solid ground, a foundation that you see them and that they see you. So you lose your authority, jumping right into accountability from vulnerability. Vulnerability to compassion. You're going to repeat vulnerability, which is, I know you're upset. Can you please tell me what that looks like from your eyes? And then you're going to go into looking like a pushover and getting walked all over because you let them explain how it would look like in their eyes. And you say, okay, you're right. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't think about that way. Yeah. And they're just going to be like, okay, cool. So now I have a free walk here. And if you go vulnerability to change, so can you please tell me what that would look like from your eyes? Right into change. It's going to come off like change why and how you feel. I see you. Yes, I get it. Thank you for sharing. Can we move on from this situation? Or saying comments like, oh, you're still stuck on that? Because like you see them, you acknowledge what they're saying, and now you're like, okay, now change it. Let's change it. Let's just get over this and change the atmosphere. Completely losing the dynamic of like trust and a solid foundation to build off of being seen, of being heard. Okay, so I have my little M diagram here because vulnerability, humility, those are your solids. As you continue on through this process in the dynamic shifting, you're going to get more comfortable with accountability, compassion, and change, when to use each. Now, there's a set of ground rules, but for each family, it's going to be different. You need to be able to agree on these things as a whole, because if you leave one person out, they're not going to be a part of they'll just feel excluded and they won't want to partake, right? Like you need to get everyone's perspective, everyone's opinion, and then weed out the bullshit, focus on what's really important. Look for the similarities. Connect your little dots, you know? So, and then I also in the last video, I mentioned how well does your child hold composure? So, does your child ask about it? Perfect. So, that's how you know your child has the capacity to hold the composure. So, start off with a question. Well, honey, what do you think XYZ is right now? Let them tell you what they already instinctively know, what they already intuitively know. And then base what you tell them off of what they tell you. Honor their instincts, honor their intuition. Stop gaslighting your children and let them tell you what they already know and honor them for that, because we are only hurting our own children. And I'm telling you this right now, if we wanted the best for our children, we would embrace, we would support, we would develop their intuition, okay? All right.